Let's talk about Tikkun. Shalom, everybody. It's this Dave from Universal Truth of Mankind. utom.org is the website, and on it you'll find links for both YouTube and Rumble, as well as my email. You'll also find some of this information down below in the description. So, Tikkun is a subject I'm going to talk about today, but it's in response to a question I had from one of the other videos. The basic question was, which comes first? Desire, belief, and I forget what the third one was. In which I responded, desire. Now, he also wanted me to discuss a little more about the desire. And he said to me, he said in the reply, what is the desire? There's got to be more than desire, which is, to me, a very appropriate question. So I wanted to deal with that today. Now, Tikkun is a very common word amongst the Messianics and also within Judaism. Now, Tikkun is typically a description of getting back to one's roots, one's religious belief. In other words, if you grew up Catholic and then you become Muslim and then you come back to being Catholic again, that would be a tikkun. But the word itself actually means more than just that. It's not just reaffirming your religion, which is typically the way it's viewed. It actually means to return. And you have to ask yourself, if you're returning to something, what are you returning to? You have to return to something that's familiar. And that's usually left out of that equation. Oh, you're returning. You're returning to something because you believe in it, is the typical way of thinking. That's not the case here. You're returning to something that's familiar, something that you originally had. So let's take a look at Genesis chapter 3, in which typically it is viewed as the fall of mankind. Now, if you fell, you had to fall from something. Some say, oh, you fell from grace, you fell from this, you fell from that. But the concept is really telling us to return. Tikkun means that we're returning to something or someplace we originally were at. It's like climbing a ladder or a stairs to return to someplace you've been once before. So Genesis is strictly dealing with it's dealing with a man's fall from the spiritual realm down to what? The physical realm. So if you're an older guy like myself, when you hit your 50s, you move on from there, you start realizing that, your body starts failing. See, when you're young, you're very interested in your body. So you focus on the body. The body is the center of your universe. It's normal. I mean, what do? We're a baby. Okay, and what do we do as a baby? All we do is cry. Wah, change my diaper. Wah, give me a bottle. Wah, feed me. Wah, hug me. Wah, keep me warm. Wah, I'm too hot. And so on and so forth. And then as we grow older, we become more independent. And then the older we get, now we start becoming dependent. And we start realizing that there has to be more to this life than the physical. So the desire to return grows. We want to return to an original state that we had once before that we lost. That desire is part of us. It's not something that is one day put in us, but rather the awareness is always there, but over time it becomes stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, to finally you say, to hell with the body, I'm ready to go. because you know there's more to life than the physical. So Tikkun is talking about returning to that original state. The desire is for us to return to original state. I'll give you more about desire. I know I talked about this in one of the previous videos, but it's worth doing again. There's 5 stages to desire. The first stage of desire is food, water, shelter, and procreating. You don't want to be alone, so you want to procreate. Now, some say sex, but it can be, but the reality is you want children. You don't want to be alone. You want to perpetuate your species. You want to be proud of your sons and daughters. So that's why I use procreating. Now, in terms of food, water, and shelter, particularly food and water, that only takes care of you maybe for the day, maybe only for breakfast. So you're constantly, we see this in animal kingdom, there's a constant search for food, water, and shelter. So there's a daily effort on those things. And then when the season is right, then there is the desire to procreate. So that's like the animalistic level of ourselves. Then we desire, after that, we desire wealth. And what is wealth really? Well, you want to have food, a food storage, a water storage. You want a semi-permanent structure to live in. And again, you want to be able to procreate whenever it's feasible. So you want a week's worth of food, a month's worth of food, a year's worth of food. We even went up to 7 years when we see about Daniel helping Pharaoh. 7 years worth of food to get them through the 7-year famine. So that's wealth. I'm sorry, that's wealth. So that's what we're looking for. A bigger house maybe, because we're going to have children. So we're looking for that desire, and then we go to the desire, like I said, of wealth. And then there's the next level, which is power. Now, perfect example is Pharaoh. Joseph provided and gave wealth to Egypt. And then Pharaoh charged for the food to gain power. So power now is a control issue, control of the house, control of the neighborhood, control of the town, control of the county or province, control of the country, and then control of the world, or region of the world, and then control of the world. So it keeps developing. But as we go through these, none of these desires give us back what we had. We had security, we had wealth, and really we had power when we had a relationship with our Creator. But these 3 are strictly physical based. Then we have knowledge, which is what I believe we're in the middle of right now. I think we're in a knowledge revolution. Those who want to keep it from us, and us who want it. And there's a struggle back and forth with that. We see that in the news. The news only tells us what they're approved to tell us. The news won't tell us that there are protests around the world, for example, all over the world, about this issue. The news makes it look like, oh, it's just Trump supporters in the United States. Meanwhile, as far as I can tell, they're not in the streets. At least not the ones I know of. So you see what's happening. Knowledge, intel is the struggle that's taking place. But even this, especially if you keep it at an academic level, still doesn't answer the question or bring us any closer. Well, it brings us closer, but it doesn't bring us to the point of returning to where we were. So how do we return to where we are, or where we were? Well, you got the next step, desire for God. With that desire for God, now you're pursuing the Creator. And the more you pursue the Creator, the more aware you become. You desire, you become aware of. And the fact that the question was, isn't there more? Yes, because you're thinking academically. You're thinking worldly. The more is the spiritual side. The unfathomable, the deep well of spirituality is over here. We only experience and know a fraction of it. So we're always yearning for more and more and more. And the desire for God in the long run is never fulfilled. We get closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to where we go. If we go into infinity, let's say you're 1,000 feet from something, and every year you get half the distance closer. So now you're down to 500 feet. Next year you're 250 feet. And so on and so forth, till you're a fraction of an inch. And then the next year you're another fraction of an inch closer. In reality, if you go into eternity, you will never get or meet up or become or get to that point of reference, because we are insatiable and we want to get closer and closer to God. We're not happy when we attain something. When we attain something, oh, I got food, water, shelter, I can procreate, I have a wife, I have a husband. Great, I got what I need. Day after day after day. So you go from lunch, a breakfast, lunch, dinner, and occasionally you may have to skip one. And then you start saying, wait, there's got to be more. Wealth. Now if I have a week's worth of food, then I can try to keep a week's worth of food all the time. And if I should not eat one day, or for one day I don't get enough food for that day, I have enough to eat, but to replenish my supplies, the next day I'll have an opportunity to replenish those supplies. But that's still not enough, because you start realizing, well, okay, I got all that, but there's people out there who want to attack me. They want to take what I have. So now you search for power and control. And then you do that. And then it's, like I said, it's not just your community, your neighborhood. Then it becomes your town and your county and province and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, to the point you want the world, like Carl Schwab. You know, that lunatic. Call him what he is. Then you say, well, I have wealth, I have power, but I want to know it. In the days of old, the leadership of the country split in two. Until recently, that has been the case. Recently, I would say 20th century. The ones that had the knowledge were the religious people. Right, wrong, and different, they had the knowledge. And the king was what? The authority. He would pass judgment, he would keep the peace, so on and so forth. So there was a division of running the state. Now, all we want is knowledge. What if we have a food shortage, which we're getting close to having? I don't mean to scare anyone, but we are. It's just reality. People are now putting videos out and watching videos on how to make your own bread, how to raise a flock of chickens for the eggs and for the meat, how to grow a garden, and all these other things. People are now starting to get to the point where they want the knowledge of how to do. They may not be particularly good at it, but that's what they're after. They're after that knowledge. Then, what do we do after that? We have a desire for God. When you have a desire for God, there are layers to our soul. And as we peel away each part of our soul, we become more and more and more aware of things, aware of spirituality. And that's the more. Again, the knowledge I was just talking about before is academic knowledge. It's knowledge to do something in the physical realm. But it's not knowledge of the Creator. That's the last stage of our desire. Again, we had all this, we fell down, and we had to climb ourselves back up. That's Tikkun, that's the return. And that's what we're in the middle of. I hope this helps to further clarify the concept of desire. And now you learn what Tikkun is. Tikkun olam, typically is what it said. It's to return. It's to go back from where you came from. And one last story before I move on. I know an individual, as a young girl, she was adopted. And she always wanted to find out who her family was. But at first she didn't worry about it. She's too busy in life and all that. She had children, had to raise the family, and so on and so forth. But now she's gotten older, she really wants to know who her real family is. Not that she's belittling the family she has now, but she wants to know the family she didn't have. Who are they? What are they? It's important to her, but it's a desire that grew over years and decades before she finally said, I have to do this. I have to search. That's a form of tikkun, to return. Why did she have this desire? Well, she was a baby. She didn't know. But somehow she did know. She just kind of realized that there was more to her family than the family she had in front of her. Again, desire. But remember, one more key point. It's part of us already because we fell. And now we want to go back and re-experience that downfall. All right, everyone, take care. Shalom, shalom. I hope this answers the question. If not, please ask. I'd rather respond to questions than to put out stuff that I think you want to hear. Take care, everyone. Shalom, shalom.